Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. A delegation of Arizona leaders led by Governor Katie Hobbs recently traveled to Mexico to meet with officials and business leaders from the state's top trading partner. The trip to Mexico City came amid international tensions over U.S. tariff policies and a month before key meetings regarding an extension to the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Free Trade Agreement. Todd Sanders is the president and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, and he was on that trip. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Buenas tardes. It's good to be here.
All right. So this was basically, it's a trade delegation. It's a trade delegation to Mexico, but Mexico City this time, not Sonora. What's going on with that?
Well, I think what's interesting is that I think this is the governor's sixth trip to Mexico. Not just Mexico City. I think she's been very intentional about that relationship. A lot of work with our neighboring state, Sonora, Governor Durazo, but certainly there's a lot of importance at the federal level, especially with what's happening at the border for us and trade. So it made sense to do that delegation down to Mexico City.
Purpose of the trip basically to smooth out relations, make sure keep things even keel?
Well, I think three-pronged. First of all, we've got a long relationship with Mexico. For instance, the Arizona-Mexico Commission's just celebrated 66 years. So continuing that relationship, that discussion, it's one thing to say we're friends, it's another thing to show up. The other part was to open up some opportunities for Arizona businesses in Mexico, but to also talk to Mexican businesses about opportunities in Arizona. So really a three-pronged type of reason for the trip.
Which sectors were focused on in both directions?
Well, I think we had folks from sort of all sectors. We had obviously some business organizations, but we also had the universities. We had a lot of manufacturing that was represented. And for instance, the Phoenix Suns were there. So it was a nice broad delegation. Yeah, and it made a lot of sense. The Suns have played down there before. We'd love to see that happen again.
The semiconductor industry, I would imagine, would have been top of mind for a lot of folks. Top of mind for them, top of mind for your group.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've done a number of these, and I will say the fact that we're all of a sudden this center of gravity in the country, you could even say in the world now, has changed the way that we're perceived in Mexico City. Before, I think you'd see that they were glad we were there. We were important trading partners, but certainly kind of all roads led to Texas. Now, all of a sudden, Arizona's front and center thanks to this boom in semiconductors. Matter of fact, we had 5 states that actually came to us and to the Secretary of the Economy to talk about how we might partner with them on advanced manufacturing. So a really interesting change in the dynamics for Arizona.
Have you seen that kind of interest from states other than Sonora in previous visits? Because it just seems like Sonora is obviously the one you focus on, but you're telling me the entire country, they were there.
It's agreed. Fascinating. Now, obviously, Sonora, really, our neighbor to the south, really important. It's going to remain important, but yeah, interesting to see all of these other states taking an interest in Arizona and looking for ways to partner with our state. That really bodes well. I think it speaks to the intentionality of our economic strategy that's been going on for 20 plus years.
What about border security? Was it mentioned? Was it touched on?
For me personally, I know the governor had some discussions with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I'm sure that was touched on. For us, it was really about the trade relationship, strengthening that, and then opportunities for Arizona companies.
Things, obviously, I mean, water conservation, these sorts of things have to be an issue in the long run. I don't know if they're an issue in a trade delegation, but still in all, those things brought up, concerns?
Water is always an issue. Certainly when you think about our friends in Sonora, they're always thinking about water like we are. I think we've got a reputation as a state that really understands water and knows how to manage that. It is interesting in Mexico City, that is something that they're now having to pay attention to. So I think they're sort of learning from us. The energy topic also came up. We're looking at energy right now. They're thinking about energy as well, given all of the new demands with AI and what that requires from an energy perspective. So that's also entered into the dynamic. So really interesting.
The mood of the meetings, especially compared to previous years, previous administrations, if you will. What was it? Because I know how it looks from up here, and it looks like there's chaos. What did you feel down there when talking to these folks?
Yeah, for one thing, like I said, we've done so much work with Mexico, with Sonora, that I think we're seen as friends coming in to having a conversation. I will say, as far as trade's concerned, tariffs, all of that, cautious optimism. They feel like, as of right now, they've managed sort of the trade wars, the global trade paradigm pretty well. And I think they've got confidence in partners like Arizona. So overall, I think it was cautious optimism.
Okay, but tariffs were discussed. Tariffs were an issue.
Well, I mean, I think the thing about tariffs is, remember that under the USMCA and NAFTA 2.0, most of those things aren't covered. I think what they're thinking about is the review that's going to be happening. It's in process now. It'll be happening next year. And so what does that look like? And how does that look like from a three-country perspective?
What does that look like? Because as you mentioned, this is happening next year. Yeah. And I mean, my goodness gracious, things were flying around the last time this agreement happened. It's even more so now. What are you thinking? What are you seeing?
Well, it's changing by the hour, as we know,
yes.
Globally. But what I'm understanding at this point, there's a comment period. I know the governor has been really intentional about understanding the impact of the USMCA to Arizona companies and making sure that we're going to provide a package to the feds to look at, to understand how this is impacting Arizona and what the benefits are for Arizona from an economic perspective. A lot can happen. If they decide to make some minor adjustments and move forward, then it can be renewed for 16 years. If they don't, if there are bigger amendments or if they can't agree, then it resets, and there's a 10-year period where they have to try and work it out. But we're hopeful that we can not get into this 10-year time frame and reset again. Make some improvements. You can always make improvements from NAFTA 1.0 to 2.0. I think we saw some really good improvements. So we're hopeful that can happen.
And I can see it now, because there are people watching this and they're saying, what difference does it make if the Trump administration decides to rescind trade agreements, to extend, decides to say no more, reduce plane flights out of Mexico to Arizona and to the U.S. This can happen on a daily basis, Todd. Where's the confidence that something like this is going to stick?
Well, and I think that was part of what both sides heard, is that for the economics to work, you need to have certainty and you need to have stability from both sides. And I think that is something that's being broadcast, I think, to both governments, that regardless of what's happening, in order to make this work, number one trade partner not only for Arizona but for the country is Mexico. So let's make sure that we've got some stability and predictability.
Cautious optimism?
Cautious optimism.
All right, we'll leave it with that. Todd, good to see you. Always a pleasure.
You as well. Thank you.